My name is Daniela, and I'm coming to share some of the astrological transits. But before that, I would like to give my brief opinion about the meaning of astrology. And astrology is much more than future previsions. Astrology is not tarot, for example, but tarot is related to astrology, has so many other areas. Astrology gives us this permission to understand better about our past, the history, the possibility of the future, but mainly is present. It's such an ancient knowledge where our ancestors, before this materialistic reality, they studied the sky, the stars, the sun cycle, the seasons, the moon cycle, and the way that influences the seas, the agriculture, but not only the luminaries, the sun and the moon, but also the other visible stars that surround us in our solar system, has as well the aspects that they do between each other and that define the cycles of those planets. And we are not only defined by our solar sign, we are the 12 signs of the zodiac. Has all the 12 signs of the zodiac are within us. Somewhere in our astral charts, there is all the signs. And when we study the transits, the astrological transits, we gain this more consciousness and clarity, perception about something that we actually already know and feel. Aquarius, especially this Aquarian season of this year, brought us a lot of this mental acceleration. The Aquarius sign speaks a lot about the ideals and the ambitions, the long-term ambitions. And this Aquarian season of this year brought us these questions of how to bring to the concrete world the necessary tools that will help us to put in place what we thought, what we think. How can we look to our material life, to our talents and gifts, to our own expression in the world, and understand, solve what might prevent us from achieving what we want most? This Aquarian season of this year brought us this big possibility of free ourselves, of revolutionize and break free from limiting beliefs so that we can contribute with our most authenticity. In the previous video, I shared about Pluto entering in Aquarius, and Pluto will be in a retrogradation mode at the end of the year from September to November. But in November, it will enter definitely in Aquarius till 2043. And in astrology, when we speak about the retrogradations motion, it doesn't mean that the planets go backwards. It's just the perspective from Earth. It's like when we are driving the car and we see from the mirror the cars that are in our back, and it gives us this perspective like the cars are moving backwards, but it's not actually a fact. It's just an illusionary way. It's a perspective. And the same happened to the planets in our solar system from our planet's view. And Pluto in Aquarius come to revolutionize our lives, both individual and collectively. It brings necessary changes, disruptions, innovations, especially technology innovations, transformations, evolutions at a global level, even if it means being necessary for us to go through fears and discomforts so that we can give place to the new. I also spoke about in the previous video that the personal planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, are moving very closely at the Earth perspective. And now speaking mainly about Venus and Mars, doing this conjunction at 0 degrees of Aquarius with Pluto, and 0 degrees is such a pivotal beginning of the sign Aquarius. And Venus in Mars doing this conjunction to Pluto in Aquarius, it's a big restructuring of both archetypes, Venus and Mars. Venus is a more feminine archetype, while Mars is a masculine archetype. We are moving through a big evolutionary process, a sense of our future self, Aquarius, guiding us, leading us to a deep transformation into more elevated versions of ourselves that require facing what is in alignment with the path ahead. A desire to make life changes pulsing through us as we seek more of our individual sovereignty, truth, and unique expression in the world. This Aquarius season, especially with these transits, gave us a great time to identify more of those dreams that we have and what we are manifesting in this new lifetime. And Mars, on one side, stirring up intense energies within us so that we can evolve more. Evolutionary growth in the masculine, meaning that it's time to leave behind old ways of doing and acting, this external archetype, as well as allowing our own internal masculine to approach a part of his journey in a new way. While on the other side, Venus brings us this completely new emotional and psychological landscape internally for ourselves. A new perception of our own values, a new way of looking at our own connection and patterns of relating. And brought us these questions of what has become outdated. What do we want to liberate ourselves from? And what do we want to keep sustaining? What has been our constant dynamic relationship between these layers of external projections and expressions, impressions integrated from our culture at a macro collective systems and micro family dynamics, for example, where our perceptions and emotional responses are connected to those values and rules from our environments, connections, life experiences that we've been integrating, and probably now we feel a need to liberate ourselves from. How can we take a step back and observe what this subconscious drive is within us? Venus is this internal archetype, while Mars is this external archetype. So they bring us like these big resets of our relationship algorithms, new concepts and understandings of how we want to live our lives, changing how we want to show up in the world, bringing together more of our authentic frequency now, a new evolutionary potential regarding our own inner relationship to ourselves, as well the way that we act on those relationship patterns. And it's important to have in our mind, in our conscience, that the eclipses, the north nodes, the south nodes that speaks about the eclipses are ruled right now from these archetypes. Mars rules Aries, so Mars is ruling now the north node. The north node is in Aries. While Venus is ruling the south node. The south node is in Libra. Venus rules Libra. An opportunity to reveal to ourselves about our own values, as well as the way that we want to be loved. The Pisces season that we already passed through brought us a major sensibility. Pisces reminds us about the power of vulnerability. It's a sign that speaks about art, intuition, creativity, compassion, altruism, forgiveness, inspiration, contemplation. And we came from the Aquarian work, and then Pisces brought us this possibility of looking in a different way. Pisces represents this closure of cycles, because Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, inviting us to dive into our own soul, so that we can then understand more that everything is connected to everything, that the beginning and the end is just one thing, that we all are parts of the same organism, so that because of that we can become more perceptive to the currents of the collective psyche. And Pisces asks us, where are we recharging our own energies, our own batteries? Are we knowing how to establish our own limits? Or are we just being sponges of these energies around us? With Pisces season and with Pisces energies, we have the opportunity to understand about our own escapisms, the fragilities of our mental and spiritual health, where our own victimisms and escapisms of reality, where is our own self-sabotage? Because Pisces being the last sign of the zodiac, and I like to think about when there's like a line, and the first of the line is Aries, the first of the zodiac, and in the last is Pisces. And Pisces being the last one of the line has this major perception about all the different expressions, all the different personalities, and all the experience through all the zodiacs. So Pisces, sometimes when we are having this major sensibility of everything, sometimes we have this unconscious drive to refuge ourselves in, for example, social media, in games, in addictions, and sleeping too much. And instead of just being present with ourselves, with what we are feeling, and having this discernment of what the energies that we are absorbing are identified with our own spiritual being. So, if we don't give this opportunity to ourselves to breathe and be conscious about everything that we feel, it's like we are hurting ourselves, allowing our mind to just keep being busy, and at the same time allowing our feelings to become more down. So we are not giving actually this opportunity for ourselves to recalibrate, especially spiritually, right? And with Pisces energies and the season that brought us this possibility of understanding, speak about the universe inviting us to get out a little bit of our strategy minds, of analyzing and planning, of searching for temporary and external responses. Pisces invites us to go within, to realign with our own soul, with our own spirits, to synchronize with our own hearts, to listen more our intuition, to be more present, not too much in the past or either in the future, because with Pisces we can be too dreamy, and being too dreamy sometimes make us be lost overseas. So just to be present with our own dreams, but here, not there, somewhere. A welcomed shift of energies that softens up into where we need a break, more downtime, to step back from the ongoing demands of life, where we are able to surrender our immediate desires, our human perceptions, our ego, and our mind. Going into the bigger picture of spiritual awareness, Pisces gives us this opportunity to understand more of what our soul has been learning. It gives us this time of integration and what we are ready to close out for ourselves, so that we can begin the new cycle more assertive within ourselves, allowing us to take a step back and observe how our own subconscious patterns, being more aware about what truly drives us. The challenge of Pisces, it's about rescuing what was learned about Aquarian season, about our own expression and essence, so that in Aries, the new cycle, we keep going firmly within ourselves. And in the previous video, I also shared about Chíron conjuncting the North Node in Aries. And this conjunction happened exactly the same day that the Sun entered in Pisces. And the nodes are related to our cycles of growth and advancement, North nodes, as well as completion and ending outdated cycles, South nodes. They are points where the moon's orbit crosses the ecliptic, a kind of imaginary circle on the celestial sphere in which the sun moves throughout the year, which there's an alignment between the earth and the luminaries, sun and the moon. Chíron has been working with this energy of the nodes since he studied these asteroids, studying the direct motion on 27th of December. Chíron symbolizes this subtle and soft energy within each of us that keeps hidden until our frequency is in alignment. When we work with our fears and vulnerabilities so that they don't hold us back or slow us down, symbolizes this sensibility, especially in our emotional psyche and field. An asteroid localized between Saturn and Uranus in our solar system. In one side, Saturn, the structural definition of things and the way that we then interact with those forms and definitions, the laws of our systems, of our governments, for example. While on the other side, Uranus, it's beyond that and yet interconnected. Uranus interacts with those forms and definitions and awaken us to the invisible world through that interaction. For example, the winds. We can't see the wind, it's not visible, although we know that wind exists because we feel it and we see manifested in the physical form, in the structural and definitions, the forms. So Uranus symbolizes that, the invisible world manifested in those forms, in those structures, Saturn. Chíron, between these two planets and these two archetypes, connects and communicates between these two states of awareness, some kind of a progressive awakening of consciousness. Chíron has been in Aries since February of 2019, on a very important journey of self-discovery, new awareness, tapping more into who we really are, especially from an enlightenment, spiritual, and healing perspective, igniting our spiritual truth and growth. Understanding that there is more within us to discover, even though might feel sometimes as a trigger. Stirring up feelings around independence and the courage for blossoming from a place of deep authenticity. Who we thought we were versus understanding more of who we truly are. This conjunction of Chíron to the North Node, both in Aries, as well Chíron in opposition to the South Node, and a conjunction is when, for example, the Sun and the Moon, they do a conjunction, they do making it a new moon, so it's a new cycle. And when there's a full moon is when the Sun and the Moon are in an opposition. And the same happen with the other planets, and then their respective cycles. And so if Chíron is in a conjunction to the North Node in Aries, it's also in an opposition to the South Node in Libra. And while the conjunction is a new cycle, the opposition is like a confrontation, a culmination point, till the beginning, till the the conjunction making it a new beginning. And these aspects of Chiron to the nodes is unlocking a hidden doorway to the next level of healing, pointing for what maybe we are ready to understand about ourselves. An opportunity of the universe to break free from labels that might be covering our being. A very important transit, mainly related to the healing work that we are already been doing about our own cicatrization, about our wounds. With the North Node in Aries, it's wounds about our own self-image, about our own identification of ourselves. Also, the self-trust that we have about ourselves. With the South Node in Libra, it speaks about attachments, social masks, and insecurities. The South Node, it's a gravity point that draws us back to something that has already occurred, a part of our memory field. While the North Node, it's a landscape that feels undeveloped, unexplored, but has a tremendous curiosity to it. A seek to develop more experience in that area versus a familiarity that feels outdated, that is no longer working, and most probably is actually causing us now suffering. Where have you been learning through the Aries energy on how to be stronger, independent, self-empowered, developing more self-trust and self-respect? What have you been moving through? What the current healing lesson has been for you? And these transits brings us this possibility of a revived and renewed energy, a turning point in our healing journey. Something new, Aries, moving us through what set us free. The ego being dismantled. Chiron humbling the self-identity so that we can reconnect with our true essence. Do we allow ourselves to live the life that we want? Or are we just keeping ourselves in this state of resistance, fighting and going against ourselves? The dilemma. If we can transform beyond the suffering of the experiences that we've had and step into a new way of being, then there is a self-exploration that will emerge out of this process that will be beyond what we've understood ourselves to be, North Node in Aries energies. While on the other side, if that state of integration into new forms cannot be transmitted, then there is a regression into the more primal actions and responses. We can evolve through the things that we bring from our past so that they can serve as an actualization tool of construction in our future. We need to be grounded, knowing how to look at our journey in a constructive and not frustrative way. To be more conscious about our goals, especially emotional, of our own internal questions. Are we paralyzing? We have this psychic and physical urgence, but we need to understand that sometimes circumstances of change can actually become part of our own goals. Has the personal planets, has the Sun and the personal planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, these planets that have a rotation around the Sun very similar to Earth, and so they have a more direct influence of our daily lives. That's why in astrology we say personal planets. As they transit through the Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries energies. Mercury is already in Aries, but speaking first about these transits through Pisces. Besides their conjuncts, Pluto in Aquarius, they also do a conjunction beginning a new cycle to Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. And Pisces is this extremely abstract sign, subtle, that sometimes is very challenging to define. Everything that Pisces touch, it dissolves. It's decharacterize, deconfigure, break down labels, ideas, and fixed thoughts. Mercury, doesn't feel, especially Mercury, doesn't feel so comfortable in Pisces. With this conjunction, it reminds us to be more and to listen more the silence. The subtle reality, our unconscious, the frequencies, the vibrational. While with Venus, it reminds us to look to our structures of our own lives, Saturn structures, and to be more conscious about what values are embedded in those structures of our lives. Have we been, I'm sorry, have we been cohesive of our actions, thoughts, and attitudes? Have we been fair with ourselves? It brings us this consciousness about our own limits and how to establish them, not only for ourselves, but also for not only for others, but also for ourselves, respecting the limits of the others too. We gain more seriousness about our dreams, Pisces, and we want to put them more into practice. We will be able to understand more situations that were in our unconscious or to a very long time ago, most probably camouflaged by the Piscean fog, being ready to acknowledge perhaps something that we didn't want to see before, honoring what we want now and where do we want to go, what is essential and important now. Saturn reminds us to take our power back, self-empowerment, through our own spiritual alignment and responsibility. While the transits with Neptune, and Neptune rules Pisces, the big seas, the ruler of the big seas, the big cosmic ocean. Also in Pisces, Neptune, it speaks about our own conscience. And it's like with these transits doing a conjunction to Neptune, it's like our unconscious is being illuminated, helping us to dispel the fog that still might exist in our experiences. We are meant to deeply understand about our own spiritual roots. A deep deconstruction of a parts of our sense of self, helping us to be more aware of our own internal narrative, as honing our own truth. We need to be more in contact with our own needs of our own soul, with more elevated values, and not values that only wins or fill up our ego. Pisces reminds us that everything is experience, that we are only passing by through this life experience, that we are so much more than our minds and egos. And what that means for you to be more present, to allow that to be enough without forcing something to happen or forcing ourselves to do something. Pisces remind us that every solution, every evolution is a process where we are constantly peeling up more layers, finding that some need healing and some need reprogramming. And that's how we evolve. And Mercury, already in Aries, despite Mercury wants all these advancements, all this rushing, because Mercury is a very mental planet, speaks a lot about the intellectual things and the communication. And being in Aries wants a lot of rushing things. But we have a lot of Piscean energies as well, planets being in Pisces. So we have the Sun, Mercury, the North Node, Chíron in Aries, but we are also having a stellium. Stellium means concentration of energies in one sign. In Pisces, we have Venus, Mars, Saturn, and Neptune in Pisces. So, despite Mercury being in Aries and wanting to have all this rush of things, the Piscean energies are not even there. It's like pointless for all those needs of advancements. Pisces wants us to understand the real value and essence of things. And as Mercury moves through Aries, does a conjunction to Chíron and the North Node in Aries, as well an opposition to the South Node in Libra. And we need to understand that we are mutual beings, that we are in constant change of ideas, likes, habits. And the North Node in Aries is questioning us about who are we at this moment? As we've been moving through all this metamorphosis process, collectively, mainly speaking. Humanity being called to these acknowledgements. Things are moving so fast. Where is our own courage, strength, and energy? Where is our source of energy that charges and feeds us and that's not drain us? The South Node in Libra has us question us about to what and whom are you giving in? Where you might be annulling your own will. To what and whom are you trying to please? And how do you feel about that? Have you been neglecting what might be screaming inside of you, where you understood that you've been through some change, but you might resist in a comfort state, where sometimes it's just not to create any conflict? And it's important to understand that the paths that we have to evolve, it's important to understand what are the paths that we have so that we can evolve our own spirituality, and what are the meetings that will open such paths. Chíron helps us to ensure that we are not repeating a wounded cycle, not speaking or approaching something from a wounded self. We are having this opportunity for reorienting our perception using the wisdom of Aries archetype to facilitate some kind of psychological paralysis that usually comes from Piscean crisis, where Aries just says be present, to show up each day, to move and choose a direction, which will then it will start to unfold. But we can step into the new before without letting go of the old. Pluto in Aquarius help us bringing this conscious about our own internal power, showing us who is in the direction that it's us, it's ourselves. And if we are not understanding this help of Pluto, it's because we are giving in to the South Node in Libra energies, letting us settle, resisting, letting other people to decide for ourselves, or even projecting our own problems in our relations. We've had a full moon lunar eclipse in Libra on Monday, 25th of March. And this lunar eclipse, full moon lunar eclipse in Libra, bring in these culmination points of seeing how our relationship, of seeing out, So this full moon lunar eclipse in Libra bring in these culmination points of seeing our relationship through a different lens, because it's a South Node eclipse. Aries speaks about me, while Libra speaks about we. So it's a time where we can unearth some things that we are ready to see, acknowledging and understanding not only in ourselves, but also in our relationships and connections. And eclipses are these points of tension and culmination, redirecting us. There's paradigms that want to be cracked, karma that want to be cleared, balance that want to be found. A forward movement that also requires new courage, advancements, fresh opportunities. And this full moon lunar eclipse in Libra that happened just on Monday this week brings this opportunity to address imbalances and healing, asserting self-autonomy, self-growth within our own connections, allowing to let go of old narratives or avoidant behaviors throughout our emotional responsibilities and commitments, helping us to reassess and redefine our sense of self through balanced and healthy relationships. Venus and Mars conjuncting Pluto in Aquarius at 0 degrees, the very pivotal point of initiation of Aquarius, signifies a complete elimination of the past and the necessary needs to grow into a new direction. And these polar archetypes, Venus ruling the south node in Libra, Mars ruling the north node in Aries, are putting in motion an entirely new evolutionary cycle moving forward, not only individual but collectively, and we can see very clearly that happening in the world right now. Venus ruling the south node in Libra is asking, where have we been acting within our connection through an unbalanced place of just pleasing others? While Mars ruling the north node in Aries is questioning us, how and where do we feel inspired to accomplish and focus our own achievements? Who are you when no one has expectations of you? What are you longing to express, but maybe you feel that you're not allowed because it won't keep the status quo going? How can you perceive others without your own expectations, not knowing what they are thinking about? And we have on 14th of October of the last year, we have these beginning points of the eclipses in Libra with a new moon solar eclipse. And it's like we are now closing that chapter. As well, we are closing as well with this full moon lunar eclipse in Libra that we have on Monday. It's closing that chapter of that Libra eclipses from October of the last year, but also closing the season of Pisces. But it's important to remember that the Pisces archetype will keep being very important this year. And with this closing of chapters with both Piscean lunation season and also with these Libra eclipses since October of last year, we are having this opportunity to close out certain themes and attachments, a possibility to solve some issues of our past so that we can keep going with new themes in our lives. So for the new astrological year that actually already started with the equinox of the spring in the northern hemisphere, and in the south hemisphere the autumn equinox. It already started, but because we have so much this Piscean archetype so relevant with these planets in Pisces still, Venus, Mars, Neptune, Saturn, but especially the personal planets, Venus and Mars, that influences in a more direct way, right? So we are having this polar energy of Aries, the new, and Pisces, the closing out of cycles. So it's like a progressive beginning that we are experiencing very slowly. And I think on 8th of April, we will have the other side eclipse, the new moon solar eclipse in Aries. So we can think that from there we will actually start to feel that the new astrological year is starting. And we are in a very delicate moment of humanity. And we need to have this consciousness, each one of us, to do our own part, starting from within first, so that we can have strength to go through the challenges that are so present, individually and collectively. We need to find our strengths in our own vulnerabilities, and not getting stuck in the past or in an imaginable future, but to be present, to be more present each day. Aries is the strength of the self-identity, the drive for strength and personal achievement, while Libra asks us, with who are we involved? With people that had in our lives, or the other way around? What feels right to you? Does it feel aligned with our soul, with your soul? Does it feel good to your body, mind, and spirits? These questions that these eclipses are bringing. We are moving through a lot of transformational potential, of getting serious with our choices and directions that we assert ourselves with now, and that are going to set up our experiences on April, at least the start of it. And we will need to be grounded. It's very important. Not only and not allowing ourselves to get lost overseas, to allow frustration because we have these Aries and Piscean energies so strong right now, and they are so different, right? The beginning, the end is like, it can be very frustrating. But to allow that frustration to be transmuted in a self-healing, constructive manner. Aries is a lot of this impulsiveness, while Pisces remind us to get back to our core, to be more self-compassive, to breathe, and to take each step in a calm and grounded way. Thank you, and I would like to share a brief music that is, won't you do for love? You try everything, but you don't give up. In my world, only you, only ourselves. Make me do for love what I wanna do. Make me do for love what I wanna do. Thank you. See you next time. Bye. Won't you do for love? You try everything, but you don't give up. In my world, only you. Make me do for love what I wanna do. Make